Hola, 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 everybody. It is Charlie T back again with another video. I'm looking forward to you guys coming in and reviewing, getting to these reviews with me of Love is Blind France. What did you do to your hair? I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So first we're gonna talk about Alexandre and Chloe. So Alexandre is 36. He's an IT manager, and Chloe is 32, and she's a socio therapist. And they look so cute to me. Like they instantly really hit it off. And what I love about them is that it just seemed like it felt easy for them to, just mesh well together romantically. And Chloe sang for him. It was an Alicia Keys song. And for me it's about the thought that counts, right? I feel as though, with them, like they both took that initiative to really make sure that the other person knew that they wanted them, and yeah, I just loved how easy it was for them. It was definitely a great thing to see. There was no drama going on. There was no like love triangle kind of mess that we're about to get into with some of these other couples. It was just smooth sailing. So we're talking about love triangles. One of quite a few, okay? And one is not even a full love triangle, it's just some mess, okay? We have Charles, who is 37 and a digital entrepreneur, but at one point he mentioned it's like being a kickboxer, MMA fighting, but it kind of made it sound as though like he did it as a professional job or still does. I don't know. I'm still kind of confused about that, my daggone self. But he is coupled up with Julie, who is 34, and she's an event project manager. Now, when it comes to Charles and Julie, I think what was great about their relationship is the fact that Julie was just herself. Like, she was very bubbly. She comes from a background where, you know it's a rocky family. Like, she comes from a background where her upbringing was not the best. Even with her parents not being together, it was very broken. And where she has now a chosen family, who are very close to her, which are all her friends, and whomever she comes across that she feels is like family. That's who she has as family and support. And so for Charles, who has somewhat of a similar background in a way of having a broken family, he was able to relate. And I think in some kind of way, to a degree, what I didn't care for was, like, it seemed like they were trauma bonding, in a way. Um, but I will say it wasn't just solely that they bonded on, right? There were still like positive things, that they shared that I enjoyed, that wasn't just focused on like the negative things that they experienced in their life. Charles actually also liked another lady by the name of Sarah, who is 33 and an interior designer. Sarah. Okay, Sarah was not there for any of the games at all. Like, on one hand, I'm all for it. Like, you're putting yourself out there, you're letting it be known that this is what I want, this is what I need, you are what I want as a person, and I going to be the one you're choosing, though, is the question that she asked. But not in a way that she should have. She gave Charles the ultimatum, in which I don't think is always necessarily the best idea to do. Call it what you want. You could say it's good or bad. What ultimatums, you got to pick your battles, right? You got to know when to actually give somebody or want to give the ultimatum to somebody. Sarah is the person that she knew Charles had another connection, i.e., that be Julie. And the issue that I had with her giving this ultimatum to Charles was that she basically told Charles that Julie was just telling all her business, whether that be with him or other men in the past, like the conversation she had, and how she is out, in public when it comes to sex and whatnot. And that that was not the case. Sarah was trying to put out there to Charles that, oh, Julie's having conversations with the other girls about her sex life, and you don't want a girl that's like that, do you? You don't want a girl that's doing all of this and that and the third. Like, and she's boring. Like, she's not really that lively. And the thing about it is, if you're gonna give somebody the ultimatum, let it just be about you and that other individual. Don't bring somebody else into it. I get it that the part of you are giving this ultimatum because you know that there's another person in the picture. However, there's no need for all of that if you're that confident in yourself and that confident to give an ultimatum to begin with. And Sarah's thing was like, oh, I'm going to win this. I got this. And then sure enough, when Charles gave that to her and said, okay, he's going to break the ball to Julie that he chose Sarah and he's going to propose to her, Julie's like, oh yeah, I won. I'm that girl. And then going in and telling the other girls, like, make it make sense. Like, I don't understand from a person who also is like, and I get it, culturally or religion wise, there's certain things you don't want to necessarily dive into, on television. That's completely understandable. But at the same time, you can't also expect somebody to that you're giving an ultimatum to and has an interest in somebody else saying like, oh, I can't talk about this or I don't want to get into that. But when you do commit to me, you'll just soon see. So I got a bet on waiting to see on the other side of things in the real world, just based off a word, that this is what you're gonna bring. This is what you're gonna do. And essentially, I mean, that's what everyone's doing right now, right? They're talking about what they bring to the table and all of that. But I just mean to an extent of like when it comes to certain things that Sarah was saying, like she can't discuss or refuse to discuss, that was very much so important to have a conversation in the pods, but you want to wait to have that off camera or wait until you're in a full commitment outside of the pods. Like that just did not sit well with me. And so Charles goes into the pod with Julie not long after talking to Sarah about her being the one. And Sarah starts to get irritated, and that is because she's thinking, oh, it's going to be a quick conversation, 1, 2, 3 minutes tops. It don't take that long to cut off somebody, right? And let them know they're not the one. I chose somebody else. But Charles and Julie up in the pod for 2 hours. And so when Charles is talking to Julie, he is telling her like, hey, this is the situation I'm in. And I had a conversation with Sarah. She let me know this is what you've been saying back in the girls, area. And Julie's like, what? No, I have not. And how would you let someone like that deter you away or deter your thoughts on how I am with you? Let what you and I have be what you and I have, and what you and her have be whatever you two have. But her bringing me into that, Like, that's preposterous. And I'm not quoting, but that's basically what she was saying, because, she's like, I'm not going to talk about her in relation to what you and I have going on. And I've been nothing but honest to you. And I never have spoken about certain things that she's trying to say and put out there that I have spoken in a way out in the women's quarters. And so, along with that, they just were able to build more, get more vulnerable with one another, and which led Charles to be like, okay, yeah, uh, I am actually going to think about this, right? So, getting back to it, um, Julie goes back into the women's quarters and she is talking to Chloe about what happened. Meanwhile, most of all the other girls are like, not all, but there's a clique. There's a kind of clique that happens that you guys, I'm sure, have been privy to. Like, it's obvious what some of the girls are clicked in. And so Sarah's talking to some of the other girls. She's like, oh, I really want to know what Julie had said, like, to Chloe about the situation. Like, I hope things are officially over. So then Charles goes to the pods. He chooses to have a date with Sarah, and he ends things completely. And she feels blindsided and like just upset. But he's like, well, I really had to go with my heart, and like Julie really tugged on my heartstrings, and I really feel as though she is the one. And so, of course, Sarah got pied off, and I'll say no to you. She had it coming. She had it coming. She just thought she was the shit, and she really wasn't. And then Charles on a date with Julie, he proposed. So that was that. That was great. We love it. Next couple being Jonathan, 37, and a chef, who is with Cynthia, who is 30, and she's a luxury sales advisor. Now, the thing about Jonathan and Cynthia, they were not immediately a thing. Cynthia liked him, but initially Maddie, who is 34 and a director, Maddie was Cynthia's number one, right? So the thing with Maddie and Cynthia, Maddie is a Christian, and so is Cynthia. They got along well with just the mere fact that, Christianity was a huge thing for them. And along with that, they knew, like, they had similar morals and foundation. The issue that transpired after a few dates was when Cynthia had asked Maddie, or I believe Maddie asked Cynthia. It was basically a question of, Maddie receiving calls in the late night, hours. Would be there for his friends because he has female friends, he has male friends, and he would be there for them regardless, right? Cynthia had an issue with that. She only had an issue not with the fact that, like, whatever time it is, like, being on the phone or going out to support your friend, whatever the situation, if it's an emergency, yes, that is fine. Cynthia's issue, though, was the mere fact that she's like, if it's a consistent thing that you're having your friends, and specifically lady friends, calling you in the wee hour when we're supposed to be having our time together, that's a problem. And that is definitely a red flag. And to Cynthia's credit, I agree. I don't think it should be a consistent thing happening, let alone if it's nothing like that important, something that could wait during regular business hours or after business hours, where it's like, okay, I'm going out with my friends, I'm going out with the boys, I'm going out with some of my homegirls. Okay, cool. But like late night, like all the time, especially if you want a phone, why are we? No, I should be the one that is with you. Again, not unless there's something like going on where like you are supporting them. The issue Maddie had with that was like, oh, so you trying to tell me who I can and can't talk to? Like, I don't like that restriction. I should be able to have the freedom to what I want. Like, that's a red flag for me. Like, he immediately got turned off by that and saw that as a sense of control from Cynthia. And Cynthia was like, no, I really hope you don't take it like that. Like, she was trying to clarify more of what she meant, and which I understood, but unfortunately, Maddie was not trying to hear it, and he was just like, no, I'm not doing it. And a part of me was like, okay, this is some F boy type stuff going on that Maddie was just like, oh no, you ain't about to control me and da 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 da. Like, to a degree, it's like, okay, now you're taking it out of like context of what it is. Like, you just don't want somebody to check you and really be like, no, like, this should be our time. But then Maddie explained later on another date of how it was I don't think he really fully explained it to Cynthia, but he said it in his confessionals. They could have not aired their conversation, if he did tell Cynthia, but he at least said it in confessional. It was a red flag for him. It was triggering because, past relationships feeling very much so controlled. Like, he couldn't do anything. He couldn't spend time with his friends and do it like that. But the thing was, Cynthia wasn't saying that at all. And Cynthia's thing was, it was alarming to her only because she's been cheated on before. So it was a missed opportunity. Again, they could have had the conversation, but it wasn't aired, but in full, of both sides of why they were triggered. But if the conversation actually wasn't had, that was a missed opportunity because, and on both of their ends. So, if, like, the communication, because she could have let him know, hey, it was only alarming to me because, like, I've been cheated on before and this is what transpired. And then on Maddie's end, he could have explained, what was triggering him and alarming based off of what Cynthia said. But, once she clarified herself, it should have been more, that both ends, it should have been more understanding, right? But at the end of the day, they decided to part ways. For Maddie, he was just like, no, I'm going to have to end things here. It's just not for me. And so Cynthia was like, okay, moving forward to where she goes with her number 2 pick, which is Jonathan. Jonathan is also Christian, but he's not like a go to church every Sunday or every day kind of person. Hit it off still pretty well. And the more they get vulnerable with each other and bond, the more eventually, Jonathan decides to propose to Cynthia. Great, because for them, they personally got to speak about each other's background. So Jonathan, his family's come from the West Indies, and then Cynthia, if I recall, she is Nigerian, and so they get to talk about more about each other's culture and their upbringing. And so that was really, really nice. The next couple we have is Thomas, who is 37 and an interior designer. And then we have Kim, who is 33 and a lawyer. So when it comes to Thomas, this is another love triangle situation that happened, that transpired. We have Tatiana also involved in this, who is 39 and a cosmetics entrepreneur. So initially, Thomas and Tatiana hit it off. They both have children. So Thomas has a daughter and Tatiana has a son. And for Tatiana, this experience is like her last little bit of hope of finding a husband, because of her age and because she has a son as well, her pickings has been slim. Issue that transpired between Tatiana and Thomas, because they really got along. They really hit it off. You know, they really got into, you know, what their background was, which they both ended up being from the same town. They knew each other's school that they went to. Like, they just weren't, they just did not know about each other. And they both now live in Paris, if I recall. They both now live in Paris. But the town that they were from, like, it was only but so big. It's interesting how they have so much in common, but they also talked about each other's like ethnic background, right? And Thomas, for him, he was like, that's not an issue for me. Like, I don't care what it is that you are. Like, I'm just here for you. And so that it was really, really great to hear that and see that. The issue that came about was Kim. Kim. Now, one thing about Kim, she is another one like Sarah. She's like, I'm going to get what I want. Now, the difference between Kim and Sarah is Kim ain't give no ultimatum. It's just like, all right, this is what I'm about. This is who I am as a person. They got to be vulnerable with each other. It was well receiving to Thomas, and which I think for Thomas, her vocalizing, even though they come from complete different kind of backgrounds, because Kim is very much so a structured person, and she comes from a two-parent household and a family very like, this is this is it, like family, you got your career, you are focused. And you know, Thomas can't relate to necessarily all of that. And so when she hears a lot about Thomas's upbringing and still being able to sympathize, I think that's what resonated with Thomas more, only because he had somebody that is so far different from him, but yet is still able to see him. So he thought they had a complete different kind of vibe compared to him and Tatiana. And for some reason, he just still end up choosing to be with Kim. Kim and Tatiana, they end up having a conversation. It seemed kind of like neutral on their end, because the thing is, they're kind of, even them are kind of clicked up as friends in a way. They're seeing the same guy, but like between Tatiana, Kim, Sarah, will get into Sabrina. They were all like really close, kind of giving like, okay, we'll see the best girl that gets it. You know, it is what it is. Tatiana had a conversation with Thomas, basically just like, I am being told by like Kim, like, this is what you guys have and everything, but like, what is it that's going on? Really just let her know what it is, what his decision was actually going to be. So moving forward, Thomas ended up proposing to Kim. So Tatiana lost her luck with one. Okay, that was number one. And is seeing how things go with Gallian, or Jallian, however you pronounce his name, who is 37 and he's an event entrepreneur. And they hit it off very well. They're vibing, and he's just like, yes, like, I really like you a lot. Because they were already, I believe he was probably her number two. Once things with Thomas were off, she was like, okay, all right, at least I have this person who really likes me. And, you know, I can see where this goes. Well, Gallian ends up getting removed from the experience because he broke one of the rules, apparently several times. He ended up somehow, some way, being in contact with a girl that was a lady that was not part of the experience at a hotel for quite a few nights. Everyone is notified about this, that he was removed from the experience based off of him breaking the rules, but it was not informed to at least the women what that was. This was like, oh, did he text somebody on the outside? Like, did he call somebody? Like, I wonder what it was. Like, they have no clue. But at this point, Tatiana's like, can I catch a damn break? Because the first guy I liked, he ended up choosing the other girl. Now the second one, like, he's removed from the experience, broke rules. God knows what it was. But like, what is going on? Thomas decides to speak to Tatiana because, again, this is where I believe the guys were informed, because otherwise Thomas wouldn't have no. What would be the other reason for Thomas to know why Gallian got sent home? He asked the producers, could he speak with Tatiana? Because at this point he had already decided to marry Kim. But he was like, I need to let Cynthia know like what happened, and also so she doesn't go crazy and think it's her, which was really, really nice of Thomas. And really much so, even why I was really rooting for Thomas and Tatiana. But anyway, Tatiana's already informed. Thomas wants to meet up with her. She's like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but all right. Thomas lets Tatiana know he is fully aware of why Gallian got kicked out, but he does not want her to tell any of the girls. Once you hear this, this should not leave this room. She was like, okay, all right. So he said Gallian was meeting up with the girl on the outside at a hotel several times. And I'm sure you know what that means. And Tatiana was like, wow, I never would have guessed that. Like, how is that even possible? And he was like, yes, I wanted to tell you this because I truly care for you. I care about you. And I wanted you to know that it's not only his loss, but it's your gain, because he was not the one. I'm honestly glad this happened because I did not want you to be with him, because I already knew the type of person he was. But this happening was the best way for me to be able to tell you. Thankfully, you guys didn't go down the altar. This situation happened because I want nothing still but the best for you. And I want you to know that you deserve much, much better. Tatiana left that, like, thanking him and everything. And of course, she got back to the girls' quarters, and she's talking to Kim, and Kim's like, oh, like, what happened? Like, what did he say? Like, I know he wanted to talk to you just based off of, like, what happened. She was like, yeah, encouraging me, letting me know, like, I deserve a great man here from this experience. And yes, I am aware of what transpired with Gallian, and Kim is like, oh, I want to know, like, can you tell me? Like, can you tell me? And Tatiana's like, no, I'm not going to say anything. Like, I can't reveal anything here. I'm going to leave that with myself. Thank you. Then moves to Tatiana, moving over to Yannik. So Yannik and Tatiana actually are really, really cute together. On one end, at first, I was just like, I don't know if I'm feeling this. Like, because, yeah, I love the Black love. We have another Black love couple like Cynthia and Jonathan. But at the same time, I was just like, Tatiana, like, bro, you already had two other men. Like, and now Yannick, I feel like it's a desperate cry for, like, okay, I just want to make it through to get to the altar, And I'm just like, I don't know. But to my surprise, like, they really, really, really have a good vibe together. And I really love how, when Tatiana expressed to Yannick about, like, her background, like, because she is mixed with, I believe, Italian, she said, Yannick was like, oh, I can teach you. And because she doesn't know any Italian. And she was like, oh, you're fluent. He was like, no, but we can learn together. And she liked that. He was like, okay, but also just so you know, like, where I'm from in Africa, I actually do speak another language, and along with that, I speak French. So he knows, he knows multiple languages, okay? And he was like, I could teach you that too. I think that spoke to her because you have this man who she's not necessarily, even though he wasn't even her first or second pick, he is really like seeking after her. He's like really initiating these things and being playful and being flirtatious and not being the one that she's having to chase after, right? She's like, they're going back and forth. And so I actually really ended up liking where they were going. But here we go again. Bum, bum, bum. Another love triangle situation that Tatiana finds herself in with none other than Cindy, who is 36 and a wellness coach. Now, I will say I don't remember too much about Cindy. I'm not going to hold you. I'm not going to hold this. Like, the connection that Yannik and Cindy had, I feel as though Yannik only had a connection with her. He had it like, how do I say this? I'll call a spade a spade. Yannik wanted a black woman, or at least mixed with black. I feel as though he knew Cindy was not black. He just knew. They did connect on a good emotional level. But at the end of the day, he was just like, it's something that's like missing still from her. So when Tatiana came into the picture, and then even when they had a conversation on one of their dates that it was black love, I said, oh yeah, that's exactly what it is. Because he knew Cindy was not black. That was the thing that was missing. And that's the thing that he was like, yeah, I'm going to have to go with Tatiana on this. Like, that's just, that, I'm calling a spade a spade. At the time, we could say, oh, it's not about race. Because it's been a plethora of times with other couples on other Love is Blind franchise. With Yannick, I, for 100%, believe that was it. Now we can find out later on if that was not the case or not, but I believe if he did end up choosing Cindy, regardless, I don't think she would have been his type. I don't think so. Versus Tatiana, you see in a reveal that that is definitely uh all him. Cindy was upset because she's like, Tatiana, I feel like is playing a game. And she even confronts Tatiana and asking her, like, are you being genuine? Because, like, one minute you're talking to Thomas, the next you're then talking to Galleon. Excuse me, the next you're talking to Galleon, and now you're with Yannick, and he wasn't even on your radar, but all of a sudden he is. Let's see how it is when the cameras are not on. And she was, I believe she was talking to Cynthia when this conversation happened, actually. But she was like, I want to see, if this is genuine from her, or if she is just wanting to get camera time and play the victim, play her cards right. So, and I mean, it very much could be that too. It could be, because again, like I said a little bit earlier, I was kind of like, Tatiana, girl, you wasn't even checking for Yannick like that, at least from what we were seeing. So, but I do thus far really like them together. But, Cindy is talking to Yannick, and he's like, yeah, I love what we have. I really enjoy it, but it's just like a spark that I have with Tatiana that I just don't have with you. And Cindy is like, the spark can go away. Like, you want something that's more everlasting and like something more romantic and that's more fulfilling. A spark could just be that, just a quick spark. And, she wasn't having it. She ain't go down without a fight, but Cindy girl, sorry. So it was a no from Yannick. He said it's a no from me, dog. And he ended up proposing to Tatiana, and she said yes. Moving along to the last couple, we have Van Mai, and I believe that's how you pronounce it, who is 33 and an osteopath, and Sabrina, who is 34 and a real estate analyst. The thing about Sabrina, she is very like charismatic. I really, for the most part, enjoy her personality, and she's very pretty. And she initially was trying to decipher if she wanted Van Mai or if she really wanted Julian. in which I think Julian was her number one. Julian is 31 and he's the sale manager. They really hit it off. And Julian's actually the youngest one, if I'm not mistaken, out of all the cast, like of the guys. Which says a lot because you've seen all these other Love is Blind in the US and UK, but specifically the US. Most of them are well under their 30s, and the oldest you'll see is probably like 33, 34. Now more recently they have thankfully gotten older, and we'll see with this new season coming out next month with Love is Blind in the USA. But I love the thing about in France, literally everyone is 31 and up. Like literally, Julian, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. No, I lied. Cynthia is the youngest. She's 30. But for the guys, 31, Julian is the youngest, and everyone is older. And then Cynthia for the girls is the youngest. And I'm just like, I live for the 30 and up club. This is how it should be. Okay? This is exactly what I want to see. Get off topic. But Julian basically, to say the least, gave Sabrina the ick once he decided to tell her on one of their late dates that he almost left the experiment. And she was like, whoa. Hold on, why? Because I thought we were each other's top and we had a great last date, and now all of a sudden you talking about I almost left last night and I wasn't gonna hear a word. Got you. So what was the reason? Ian explains to her that he thought about an ex. I don't know. I don't want to say it was an ex or a girl, just in general. He used to date and the date was like not official, but somebody on the outside he thought about, and he was comparing her to Sabrina or vice versa or whatever. And he was like, the fact that I even thought about you and comparing you to her, someone that's not even an experiment, I found like was unfair, and that also leads my head to be in a different headspace. I don't think it's right, but I decided to stay because I really do like you, and I think I should be honest with you about this. So while Sabrina was like, I appreciate your honesty, I love that, I am thankful because you did not have to be. However, you just took an L because, baby, that Sabrina was like, no, ma'am. No, sorry, Bobby Jr. You lost me. You could have held that in the vault. You could have kept that back there. Okay. You could have just, if it was bothering you that much, like, you could have talked to your homeboys and left it there. But to let me know that, I mean, she was gonna find out regardless, I guess, depending on like because it was on camera and if he said it in his confessional. So I guess in hindsight, it was still good. Like he told on himself like that, but at the same time, like I don't know. I guess it's a kind of a double-edged sword. So anyway, Sabrina goes on a date with Van Mai, continues because she was already deciding between Julian and Van Mai, and thankfully they really vibe out. I honestly and truly forgot all about Van Mai up until he was like they were showing the dates between him and Sabrina more, and he was dating some of the other girls too, but the connection between him and Sabrina was really, really good. She was like, yeah, I'm gonna hop on this man because Julian, he playing games. He talking about he was gonna leave, and then he was thinking about another girl, and he done told me that no, I'm about to go with a man that's always been focused on me. Period. We have much issues, to be honest. Actually, they didn't have issues at all, to my recollection. He goes and proposes to Sabrina, and she says yes. So we are at the reveal. Alexandre and Chloe. They were really cute. They were really good. Okay. That was quick split. All right. Kind of expected them to be cutesy. Charles and Julie, they saw each other for the reveal. Charles was like, yes. And Julie was like, maybe he'll grow on me. Right? Because it wasn't really his body. It was more so like his height. And she was like, physically, like in general, like face wise, like he's not somebody I would go for. But to be fair, also, Julia is like a stallion, okay? She is tall. Which leads me to my next couple, Jonathan and Cynthia. Because Cynthia is also another stallion, okay? Miss Mama's is 6 foot, 6 foot plus tall, okay? Without heels. Jonathan is not short by any means. However, he's like average height, like 5'9", 5'10". It happens. And the editors know they are wrong for what the hell they done did. Because when they do like silhouettes before the reveal happens, and so they open it up before they open it up, they do the silhouette for Jonathan's normal size. Then for Cynthia, they do like this ginormous, giant silhouette. And I'm like, now, y'all know y'all are wrong for that. So the reveal happens. They walk, they hug each other, everything. And so, afterwards, Cynthia just reveals, like, this is me, I'm tall. I was just afraid, like, your height's not a problem for me. But, like, this is it. Even without heels, like, this is me. But I love my heels. And so Jonathan was like, I don't care. Like, that's fine. Like, you're good. Like, I love you. So it was really cute at the moment. We'll get into that. So Van Mai and Sabrina reveal to see each other. They're both like loving to see each other. Like, they're happy, astounded. It was very, very cute. Then you have Yannik and Tatiana, who, in my opinion, was like the best reaction, because when I tell you, they was just like it was by like hands down, like, oh yeah, that once I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, I 100% believe like they're each other's type. 100%. Like, Tatiana, I feel like doesn't necessarily have a type, like, but for her interest, and if she was going to put on paper exactly like everything that she wants, I feel like most of those things like would have been ticked off by Yannik, right? Like, Thomas also ticked a lot of those things, but Yannik, I feel like, ticked way more, for her. And just knowing that he was also black, right? So that reveal happened. They were just like eating each other up. Which, by the way, Tatiana, speaking of eating, like, Tatiana, between her and Cynthia, but definitely Tatiana, she eats. Fashion be over. Moving along to the honeymoon. Always throws me for a loop, because the honeymoon is supposed to be after the wedding, but I get it. In this case, like, honeymoon is like before y'all just, the wedding, because y'all want to actually see, how you guys are in together. Like, they're just going out of order. The couples I'm going to focus on first is Jonathan and Cynthia, where they're choosing outfits for everyone to meet up, all the couples to meet up together. And this is literally the first night, at least, that we're seeing, if not the second night. And they're having an argument over heels. You heard me. Heels. Jonathan puts on his outfit. Cynthia puts on her outfit. Then she puts on her heels. Jonathan proceeds to be like, oh, but you don't want to wear your flats. You don't wear your sandals. She was like, no, I want to wear my heels. He's like, but the sandals, I said, look cute. It look better. She's like, okay, that's your opinion, but I want my heels. Like, I feel great in heels. Mind you, prior to this argument that ended up transpiring, they had a more deeper conversation with how she is with guys that are shorter than her and not like really as tall, because she will run into an issue with them feeling like, they're not, like, they're inferior to her because she's so tall. And essentially it makes her feel uncomfortable and makes her feel like less confident, that like she's not able to be herself and wear her heels that she wants. And Jonathan was like, no, like, that is fine. You can wear heels. I don't have an issue. Fast forward back to this argument to where he is upset now that she wants to put on her heels and not flats. And without verbatim just straight up saying, like, I know I said I don't have an issue, but I got an issue right now because we're meeting everybody for the first time. I don't want folks to clown me. So her thing is like, before he even says all of that, she's like, I want to wear my heels. I feel great in them. And we just had a conversation. You said it was never a problem. So why are you upset right now? And so he's upset because she's not understanding or wanting to understand, according to him, that she wants to wear heels and she should want to wear flats because he's shorter than her already. She's a stallion. And when they go to meet everybody, at the reveal, everyone's gonna tease him. All the boys are gonna laugh at him and play him in his face and all of that. And the thing is with Jonathan, I was like upset because first of all, I'm already rooting for y'all, but you got me pissed off because first of all, why the hell does it even matter what the other guys have to say, or let alone anybody in general have to say or feel about you in relation to your girl Cynthia, who is taller than you, regardless if it's in heels or not? If you are telling her verbatim already that you are comfortable and feel confident, and she should feel confident and comfortable enough to do what she wants and express herself the way she feels and how she feels, then why does it matter about anybody else's opinion and how they feel on you or her? That's number one. Number two, you're deflecting all of your emotions and how you feel onto her. You're like, your insecurities are truly that you lied. You said it's not a problem, but you basically have a problem because you're having a hissy fit right now and saying like, oh, you're not you're not seeing things in my shoes. Like if it were me, if I was you, I would want to compromise and, on the first night of meeting everybody, not want to wear heels because I know you're going to get clowned. Like, no, I'm not going to think that because you told me it's not a problem. If it was a problem, I would have not even approached this in this kind of way. So yeah, I'm getting hyped up because that argument really pissed me off. So I was like, y'all really not going to this shit. Y'all ending this marriage already. Well, this engagement already over some damn heels, really, and mainly because of Jonathan. Like, sir. Fast forwarding to Sabrina and Van Mai. So they're at the pool, and you get to see Van Mai's body, yada yada. Who Sabrina was like, yes, like he is fit, he is everything. It is, girl. And they were having like deep conversation, and Sabrina was complimenting him, but apparently Van Mai wasn't complimenting her back, and Sabrina apparently expresses in her confessionals like she has some insecurities, sometimes physically. And so she wants to be reassured by like, basically words of affirmation, like complimented and everything. And so when she wasn't getting that reciprocated back, she was starting to feel away like, I don't really like it. Like, does he really like me then? Does he not find me attractive? If he does, like, why is he not telling me? Like, what's going on? And so that was their main thing, but outside of that, they were pretty good. Tatiana and Yannik, they vibed very well. Like, there's no issues with that either. Only thing that was going on was that, of course, Tatiana was like, of course, I'm gonna see Thomas, see how that goes, which leads on to Thomas and Kim. Thomas and Kim. Whew, she was giving me a headache. It's like a thorn that's on your side that you just can't fully get out. That's what Kim was already giving, because Kim was like, oh, I can't wait to see everybody, but I really wanted to get into Charles's ass because like us girls that are close with Sarah deserve an explanation. And Tom was just like, he don't owe y'all shit. Like, he made his decision. I know why. He told his guys why, but like he didn't have to, but his decision is like valid. Like, I don't understand why it's any of our business, let alone yours specifically. Like, Sarah's a big girl. She can have the conversation with him on the outside when we get to it. But outside of that, it's nobody else's place or business to talk to him or Julie about where they stand and why he chose to go with her. So Kim is having a hissy fit already. Was like, well, I feel that you should have my back. And that's that. Like, I'm going to talk about it. Sarah's my friend. I got her back. And Tom was like, all right, cool. So Kim is then going on to meet with some of the girls like Sabrina and, well, everybody at this point, actually. This is the main meetup. And she's talking to other girls, mainly Tatiana and Sabrina. And she's like, oh, yeah, I don't know, like, why, he's just kind of, different from me, but like I'm getting adjusted, like, I'm learning, like putting his elbows on the dinner table, like, oh my gosh, but and then like she was already complaining a lot when they got to the hotel at first, and it was like, I understand, like, people have standards, but at the same time, I don't know. It was just, she was complaining a lot. And that was, you can tell Thomas was annoyed and irritated by it. Julie and Charles come in, to the meetup. And, Julie and Charles are already happy, but they already know, like, Julie already knows, like, maybe some of the other girls won't, like, really see it for her because she knows, like, they were clicked out with Sarah. So, back forwarding to where everybody meets up, sitting on the couch, like all the couples minus Jonathan and Cynthia. You see like, in the background Jonathan's there, but Cynthia's not. But everyone's sitting on sofas or whatever outside, and Kim decides to bring up to Charles like what made him choose Julie all of a sudden over Sarah when he promised to Sarah that it was her. And Charles explained himself, even though he didn't have to. And then it basically, because Kim was being so shady, she was like, she called him like an elf or something like that. And I was like, now, Kim. And it was like, oh yeah, so we're doing it, but like slick comments like that, like, girl, you really trying it. And Julie, I feel like she peeped it, but not only because she was already like irritated at the fact that they were questioning Charles and then her, but she already knew like the girls how cliquey they were back, in the pods with Sarah, and she did not care for them at all. So Julie was like, nah, I'm about to put this girl in her place. So this is our business. What happens between me and Charles is between me and Charles. What happened between him and Sarah is him and Sarah's business. I didn't get in between that. Y'all shouldn't get in between that, and y'all should not get in between this. That's none of y'all concern. That should be none of y'all concern. Y'all need to mind y'all business and stay in y'all lane. That's basically what Julie said. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what she said to everybody. And then it got more hype because Thomas and I believe it was Yannik that stepped in and was like, okay, like y'all, you're like, it's nobody's place to be, asking, why Charles chose what he chose. Because then you got Sabrina getting into the conversation too. And they were like, no, Sarah was our friend. We're just trying to see her. And so Kim ends up storming off with Tatiana and Sabrina after Thomas made a comment with Kim that he feels bad for Julie after the, questioning happened with everybody. Well, Kim and Sabrina and Charles and Julie, because he was like, that's a decision. I poor Julie, like, because she didn't deserve to get like question with Charles like that. Like, it's her situation. And so Kim was like, oh, you not on my side. You need to back me and da da da. So she's telling the other girls, like, I don't know if this is gonna work. I don't like that. Like, he need to have my back. He need to support me. I don't care. Da da da. Like, he just embarrassed me. And then you see Thomas like I can't with this shit. Like, I need to end this because she is giving me a headache. Like, he's literally talking to the guys like, I can't with her, bro. She is dramatic as hell and she's doing too much. She's concerned about everybody else under the sun but us. And like, this isn't the same person I was liking in the pods. Like, I don't know who this girl is. And child, that's where it leaves off, honey. He was like, I think I made a bad decision. And here we are. We'll see how everything lays out. So be on the lookout for my next video for the next few episodes. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the rest of the honeymoon, along with when the couples live with each other in the outside world and meet each other's families. I'm sure that'll be the next few episodes. So, yeah, be on the lookout for that within the next week. Bye. Where'd you go?